Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we are going to do a review for Shores of Loci VR, a game released on the Steam Store May 24th, 2022 by developer Mike TV. It's available for the HTC Vive, Valve Index, and the Oculus Rift. It normally retails for $14.99. I bought it at that retail price. I tested it out on the Meta Quest 2 using link cable. Shores of Loci VR is described by the developer as a narrative puzzle game, a puzzle adventure, and I would not describe it as such. I think this is a pure puzzle game, similar to a jigsaw puzzle. It does start off with a narrative that's voiced. However, after that point, there really is no further story. You pretty much just select 4 different level worlds and you solve the jigsaw puzzles in those levels. Now, these are 3D puzzles, so it's very similar to Puzzling Places, and I'll put a link on my video here so you can check out that video review. But this game and Puzzling Places are very similar, and if I have to choose one over the other, it would be very difficult for me. They're both good, so I do recommend them both, and I think personally I just prefer Puzzling Places, but I could see some people preferring Shores of Loci over Puzzling Places, and I think it'll just come down to personal preferences versus one being better than the other. Now, some of the differences are that the content here is very limited. It took me about 2.5 hours to complete the game. There's 4 different themed worlds, and they're all like fantasy based, so the artwork here is very unique. It is very beautiful, but on the other hand, the resolution here is not the highest, so some of the textures are a bit muddy. The puzzles are all habitats, but from like an alien fantasy world. And of course, with Puzzling Places, you have most of these puzzles based on real life locations, and the photogrammetry there is just simply amazing. So again, these 2 different puzzle experiences are going for very different visuals, so I think it will come down to personal preference as far as which one you will prefer. I prefer the 3D photogrammetry from Puzzling Places, and that they are based on real life locations, but this is nice as far as a relaxing app with a fantasy theme and just a little bit of a story narrative as well. Another difference is just the way the puzzles are laid out. Here in Shores of Loci, the puzzles are more naturally fitting, so you do have to pay more attention to how the puzzles connect via connecting roads or connecting building pieces together, or sometimes you have to look at the bottom of the puzzle and see if there's maybe a connecting geometry there. And here the puzzle pieces are completely 3-dimensional versus in Puzzling Places, where the pieces, although they are 3D, can be flat in certain sides of the puzzle piece. So it can be a lot more tricky here in Shores of Loci to figure out if 2 different puzzle pieces are somehow connected versus Puzzling Places, where there you have puzzle pieces that are more traditional and you can just see the outline shape of the puzzle and see if it connects with another piece. Another big difference is that here you do not have any scale difficulty, whereas in Puzzling Places you can choose between 50 pieces, 100 pieces, etc. to make it more difficult. In Shores of Loci, you don't have the puzzle management of Puzzling Places. Here, if you see a puzzle and you can't connect it, you can just kind of leave it there and it'll be floating there in the air, but there is no location where you can place it for later use. And one of the difficulties I face is that sometimes these pieces would float away and they'd be difficult to find, and I'd have difficulty putting pieces together, not finding out till later that the piece that I needed had floated away to the other side of my play space. There's also no reference photos, unlike Puzzling Places, to help you out. Now, there is a hint system, so if you are totally lost, the connecting pieces will start to sparkle and you just put them together. However, this hint system did not work for me on the last level. Lastly, we do come to sounds, and I have to say that the soundtrack here is really good, just like Puzzling Places, as well as the ambient sounds, although I think I did like the ambient sounds in Puzzling Places more, just because they were more connected to the puzzle. For example, you would hear like church bells ringing while you're doing a monastery puzzle. I will say though that the background visuals here are much better than Puzzling Places. It's a fantasy world. It's very similar to the puzzles that you're solving, so definitely here the background visuals feel like a more natural part of the game. And you'll see like birds flying or dolphins swimming in the water, and it definitely helps in getting you to that happy place while you're solving the these puzzles. Shores of Loci is running on the Unity engine on my RTX 3080. I was getting a steady 90 frames per second. There were no graphical settings or any settings whatsoever. You can play seated or standing, and you do have a force grab to get those puzzle pieces out of your reach. I did not experience any serious issues or bugs. However, I do have a feature request, and it is the same feature request that I have for Puzzling Places. First, I would like multiplayer. Yes, it would be fun to play these puzzles with a friend online. Second, I would like a reward for completing these puzzles, and the reward would be the same thing I requested on Puzzling Places, is the ability to go into these worlds and explore them at eye level in first person view. I think that would be a great way to reward the player for completing the puzzles and give great motivations to solve them all. Finally, the dev does mention that more content is planned in the future. However, I hope that's not in the form of DLC, at least not yet. I think at the current asking price, you kind of do need at least 2 more levels to bring this game closer to the 3 to 4 hour mark to give more value to the current asking price. Like I said, I do believe Shores of Loci and Puzzling Places are both very good puzzle games, and it's very tough choosing one over the other, but if I have to choose one, I would choose Puzzling Places. But again, that's just a personal preference. Now, if I have to rate Puzzling Places, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's a solid puzzle game, but it didn't really blow me away. I think it could have used more story to add to the start of this game to really separate it from Puzzling Places, along with just more puzzles. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyer. This has been my review for Shores of Loci. If you enjoyed my review, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.